Hello, welcome to QUT News.
Hello.
A welcome boost today to support those escaping family violence. Opposition leader Bill Shorten has more than doubled Labor's funding package, announcing an extra $330 million in victim support. More on that shortly. But first, a shorter-term solution for the same problem developed in Queensland.
It's the watch aimed to keep watch of our most vulnerable. A game changer in the fight against domestic violence. Brisbane not-for-profit startup ComSync has developed a device to help women at risk of domestic violence.
Alarm has been triggered.
So what we know is in a crisis every second counts, and this is sending vital information for women who are at risk of domestic violence to those people who know and those people who care.
Co-founder Chris Boyle says the smartwatch will be able to track the wearer via GPS and Wi-Fi using stored information. The device revolves around creating awareness, which he says sets them apart from the rest.
There's been a lot of great work done in the space of awareness raising for domestic violence. This allows us to truly be connected, and safety through connections is our differentiator.
At the press of a button, victims can instantly connect with police, providing valuable information, all without the attacker knowing. The federal government is providing crucial funding to get the trial up and running.
We are continuing to roll out new initiatives under that funding. Quite a number of initiatives have been funded under that $12 million.
100 women from across southeast Queensland will be invited to take part in the free trial. Leanne Neeby, QUT News.
As we mentioned, Labor is planning a big boost to handle domestic violence issues. With the federal election campaign coming up to week 3, Scott Morrison and Bill Shorten have run out of public holiday truces. Both men today had big spending announcements and bigger preference deals.
Labor is promising to spend more than $660 million on family violence over the next 4 years, including $60 million for emergency accommodations and $90 million for legal services. And they want domestic violence victims to be eligible for paid leave.
A fair go means equality in pay. A fair go means equality in opportunity. A fair go means equality in leadership. A fair go means in freedom from violence.
Bill Shorten says Labor will make ending violence against women a national priority. The Prime Minister, on the other hand, was talking help for the disabled with specialist accessible homes under the $22 billion National Disability Insurance Scheme. He also wants Australia to stay on course.
We have a plan for our nation, a plan that builds on what we've been doing for the last 5.5 years to create 1.25 million new jobs, bringing the budget back into surplus to pay down Labor's debt, lower taxes for families.
Controversial politician Fraser Anning has once again been the centre of election violence. A supporter and a journalist clashed outside Anning's conference, ending in a shirt-pulling ruckus. Annie Pan, QUT News.
Logan City Council is in disarray after 7 councillors and suspended Mayor Luke Smith were charged with criminal offences. The 7 councillors were automatically suspended after being charged. That relates to the departure of former Logan City Council CEO. Smith already was on suspension, charged with official corruption, perjury and his failure to update his register of interests. The Crime and Corruption Commission has been investigating claims of corruption at the council for some time. All 8 were bailed to appear in the Magistrates Court next month. A 40-year-old man is in custody after the death of a man at Woodridge early this morning. The man was found at the intersection of Defiance and North Roads with serious head, neck and chest injuries. He was treated at the scene and taken to hospital where he later died. The 40-year-old man was taken into custody soon after.
The gentleman was located with severe injuries as a result of a very violent assault. He was treated at the site and transported to the PA hospital.
Police are urging anyone who might have seen or heard a disturbance in the area to call Crime Stoppers.
Here's a story that will really grind your gears. Our state's most congested roads have been named and shamed, as more than 2,000 motorists speak out about what drives them mad.
The results from RACQ's Red Spot Congestion Survey are in. And drivers didn't hold back.
More than 450 roads were pinpointed as the most congested or bottlenecks, you could say.
No surprise with the worst, it's the Pacific Motorway, by a long way. The Western Freeway is next worst for bottlenecks. And on the north side, Gympie Road gets up drivers' noses.
The traffic here is unbelievable, very busy, and I thought it'd be better flowing than this.
It's stands still sometime, it's really a pain.
Rounding out the top 5, the Bruce Highway and South Pine Road in Everton Park, where there are lengthy hold-ups at traffic lights. The recent federal budget allocated over $2 billion to Queensland infrastructure, but the state's Treasurer Jackie Trad says it's unlikely to see most of that money until the 2023-2024 financial year. The RACQ says it will use the survey results to lobby all tiers of government.
These are parents, mums and dads, employees who are trying to get to work, get their kids to school, and congestion is holding them up and preventing them from spending time doing the things that they should be doing.
Meantime, as the RACQ says, motorists need to pack their patience. Alicia McLaren, QUT News.
More than 50 drug charges have been laid over the course of a 4-day music festival. The Rabbits Eat Lettuce Festival attracted around 3,500 people to Warwick for the Easter long weekend. 25 people were charged with 52 offences, including 28 charges of possessing dangerous drugs and 4 charges of supplying a dangerous drug. The charges come after 2 revellers were found dead in their tent.
It's that time of year again. As Queenslanders struggle to shrug off the summer flu, health authorities are urging residents to get their vaccinations now, with the winter season almost upon us.
It's time to roll up your sleeves and get prepared. Winter is coming and so is the flu. Already more than 8,000 Queenslanders have been struck down by influenza this year.
Summer flu numbers have been higher than traditionally expected, and while that's not necessarily an indicator that the winter flu numbers will be high, it is a reason for concern.
Doctors are concerned we could see a repeat of 2017's horror season, where more than 56,000 people required treatment.
We had the worst ever flu season where emergency departments across Queensland and across the country were pushed right to the brink because of an extremely large number of presentations, and the best way of avoiding that is to get a flu vaccination.
The flu can strike at any time, with the young and elderly most at risk.
Every Queenslander can play their part to keep themselves healthy, but also to relieve pressure on our hardworking doctors and nurses and health staff here in our hospitals, and that's by getting their flu shots.
With the number of summer flu cases rising in Queensland for the last 5 years, health authorities are urging residents to be prepared and get themselves vaccinated. The injection takes just a few minutes of your time, but could prevent a whole lot of pain later on. Lukai Kesseling, QUT News.
Travellers from around Australia have descended on Winton for the Way Out West Fest. The 4-day event kicking off with a special Anzac Day ceremony commemorating Winton RSL's 100th anniversary. Internationally renowned artists Amy Shark, Missy Higgins and John Williamson are among the star-studded lineup entertaining crowds over the coming days. The event is in its 2nd year and will run until April 28. Still to come, the unique Kiwi touch to Anzac commemorations.
And the Broncos stick with their lineup for the clash with the Sharks. The close Australian connection to one of the Sri Lankan terrorists has become clearer. It's now claimed Abdul Latif Jamil Muhammad was radicalised while studying in Melbourne. His sister has told the Daily Mail, "My brother became deeply religious while he was in Australia." Nevertheless, Australian leaders are convinced the cell that carried out the attack was Sri Lankan.
I can confirm, based on the advice that we have received, that it was a locally based Islamic terrorist organisation.
Mohammed, one of the 9 suicide bombers, accidentally blew himself up outside a guest house in Colombo. The death toll following the Sri Lankan bombings has now been put at 258, not more than 300. The confusion is apparently due to chaos in the hospitals after the event.
As Colombo begins recovery efforts, many locals are struggling. Businesses remain closed and the city is now empty of tourists.
Nearly 1 week, but still the shop walls are closing. Just today only, yesterday I came and opened the shop. They are not doing the business or anything.
Shops near Anthony Shrine, one of the bombing sites, have been closed for nearly 1 week. People are scared to venture out as the government warns there could be more attacks.
Definitely we are losing. We have no business, no income. I don't know how to live in this country. No? That's a problem now. In the current situation, very difficult for us.
The Sri Lankan government has emphatically admitted it must take some responsibility for the bombings.
Unfortunately, if the sharing of intelligence information had been given to the right people, I think at least could be avoided.
The Defence Minister has now stepped down over the fiasco. Elsewhere, the Sri Lankan president has attended the funeral of a policeman who died trying to capture terrorists. In all, 76 suspects have been arrested as those who suffered relive the horrors.
People are dying, weeping, shouting, finding any other their relations. After that, we realize there's a bomb blast.
The road to the nation's recovery will be long. Georgie Hewson, QUT News.
Australians have remembered their fallen around the globe. So too have New Zealanders, the other half of the Anzac tradition, and they do it in their own style.
At Gallipoli, many New Zealanders took part in the Anzac commemoration alongside fellow Australians, but they added a bit of their flavour. There was a large New Zealand contingent, and like the Aussies, they said they felt safe enough despite supposed threats.
Anzac Cove is the best I've ever seen in any of these commemorations. They've done a very good job throughout of making sure that we've all felt safe.
Tourists had been warned to take care at Gallipoli. Before the services started, the Turkish president announced a man had been arrested for planning an attack. However, neither the Australian or New Zealand government seemed convinced the ceremonies were his target.
I think we were surprised to hear that they had caught someone, but maybe not that shocked.
There was plenty of security at the event to reassure the visitors.
I felt totally safe, the security level was high, but also not intrusive.
Alexis Moran, QUT News.
After nearly 2 weeks of protest, environmentalists are calling a halt to their London demonstrations. More than 1,000 people were arrested.
A long-lasting climate protest campaign has come to an end in London, at least for the time being.
I'm so sad that it's ending because it's been amazing. It's been an amazing 11 days.
The Extinction Rebellion groups is trying to force Britain to declare a climate and ecological emergency. It wants to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to zero by 2025. And the group's leaders hope people power will make it happen.
And hopefully the message is spreading and the power is going up and people are more empowered to keep going and make a change. And it's not over. We're going to keep protesting and there's going to keep being action by Extinction Rebellion, so exciting times to come.
The current protest finished with demonstrations at Parliament Square and Marble Arch.
Lots of people need a rest, and then there's lots of work to be done, going back to communities, talking to broader base of people, hopefully after we've had all the media attention.
Police arrest 1,130 activists during 11 days of protests. Annie Penn, QUT News.
New figures show 170 million people worldwide have not been immunised against measles. Health authorities are worried we could return to the era when the disease killed millions.
Health officials say there have been 103 confirmed cases of measles already in Australia. And now, the World Health Organization has, for the first time, listed measles as one of the 10 most important health threats globally.
In the last 3 years, there's been a 300% increase in measles.
The US-based Centers for Disease Control is pleading for parents opposed to vaccinations to reconsider.
We think it's very important for individuals that are planning to do overseas travel to ensure that they have been appropriately vaccinated against measles.
Only 5 years ago, Australia was declared measles-free, and vaccination rates were high. The experts say because people have not witnessed the effects of measles for quite some time, they may be less inclined to take the jab.
Individuals that are making these decisions really haven't seen the impact of these diseases when they occur in the flesh.
Measles are so contagious that about 9 in 10 people who come in contact with the virus will catch it if they are not immunised. Alexis Moran, QUT News.
Former US Vice President Joe Biden has announced he will run for president in 2020. The 76-year-old, who served 2 terms as Barack Obama's right-hand man, took to social media to declare his bid for the top job. Biden joins 19 other contenders in the Democratic field, hoping to challenge President Donald Trump in next year's election.
But if we give Donald Trump 8 years in the White House, he will forever and fundamentally alter the character of this nation, who we are, and I cannot stand by and watch that happen.
President Trump responded in a post on social media, saying, "Welcome to the race, Sleepy Joe."
There was a very cute surprise for SeaWorld's polar bear cub, Mishka. The 2-year-old celebrated her birthday in style, enjoying presents, toys and treats. The highlight though, her own special fishy birthday cake. Mishka is no longer a little cutie. She now weighs in at around 200 kilograms.
The Brisbane Broncos are hoping to take a bite out of the Sharks as they struggle to shake off their recent form, while the Lions prepare to go to battle with the Gold Coast Suns.
Another week, another loss for the Broncos. The side keen to wipe any memory of their narrow defeat at the hands of the Raiders. Coach Anthony Seibold focused on the future, with his young guns at the forefront. 19-year-old prop Payne Haas, a rising star during dim times.
Payne's he's a player who needs to start the game, and he's a player who can play long minutes. I think he showed that in his first 2 games. He's been outstanding for us.
Despite the return of Tavita Pengai Jr. from suspension and Matt Lodge from injury, the Broncos will opt for Haas up front. Seibold acknowledging the club's struggles in defence are holding them back.
The missed tackles that we are making are ones that are probably really costly.
Despite the Broncos having the worst start to a season since 1999, coach Anthony Seibold is sticking to the same formula. Tighten up the defence and give the youngsters time to grow. In the AFL, the Brisbane Lions are preparing themselves for the QUT clash against the Gold Coast Suns at Metricon Stadium.
I think it's the first time that both teams have probably been in and around the 8 as well, so that's really important for both teams, and I'm sure it's going to be another cracking QUT clash.
The Lions captain set to celebrate his 150th game.
Absolutely stoked with that. Coming in as a 22, 23-year-old, you know, obviously everyone says, oh, if you play one game, it's great, but to get to 150 is a achievement that I'm really honoured and I'm really privileged to be able to reach. So yeah, really wrapped.
Tom Robson, QUT News.
All the weekend weather details are next.
And how a cat and some orphans became a family. The weather is warming up after what we call a cold spell. Around the southeast, there's some light cloud cover, however it's been mostly sunny. Brisbane and the Gold Coast reached 27. It rose to 28 in Ipswich after an overnight low of 18. A top of 26 degrees on the sunny coast. And around the nation tomorrow, sunny in Sydney and mostly sunny in Canberra. Further south, Melbourne, Hobart and Adelaide are all expecting rain. Back to Queensland, and showers can be expected in Cairns and Townsville. Cloudy and 30 degrees in Rocky and sunny weather for Vundberg. Down to Moreton Bay, southeasterly winds will be 10 to 20 knots, with seas to be about 1 metre. And tomorrow, the sun will rise at 10 minutes past 6. The outlook for the Gold Coast tomorrow, mostly sunny with a top of 27 degrees. The same forecast for the sunshine. Finally, Brisbane is looking mostly sunny over the weekend, with tops in the high 20s. Some light cloud cover on Monday with a high of 26. That's the weather for now. Back to you, Rhys.
Thank you, Anne. Just before we go, a reinforcement of that old saying, love knows no bounds. In Crimea, a cat has allowed some squirrels to steal her heart.
This is Pusha, and Pusha is very content. She has just adopted 4 orphan baby squirrels that were brought to a small park zoo in Crimea.
They were about 4 weeks old and their eyes were open a little. We had a cat with kittens, so we decided to give them to her.
It wasn't exactly love at first sight though, until Pusha warmed to the idea. Now they are all over her and she can't get over them.
At first they were afraid of her, but then they got used to her and started running and jumping all over her.
Pusha hasn't had quite enough milk to feed her own kittens and the squirrels. So park keepers help out using tiny bottles full of goat's milk. Now they're all a happy bundle.
They found a common language. Now they live as a happy family, kittens and baby squirrels.
And wouldn't it be nice if all animals, including man, could just get on so well? Georgie Hewson, QUT News.
That brings you up to date with QUT News. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.